stake for A-Rod and the rest of the players wrapped up in this scandal. David Stone is a former general legal counsel for the parent company of the New York Yankees. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. So as someone who was once a part of the Yankees organization, you know, perhaps the most storied franchise in all of professional sports in this country, what do you think the Yankees are hoping for here?
Well, I kind of look at it like there's a game of chicken going on now between Bud Selig and Major League Baseball and A-Rod, and the Yankees are standing on the sidelines sort of waving a flag. I think it's unlikely that A-Rod is not going to get suspended for at least a season. And given that fact, I think the Yankees, in my opinion, would be rooting for a longer suspension rather than a shorter one, simply because they have a huge contract that they have to pay to him, and they would not have to pay him during a suspension.
Do you think that they're going through that contract right now and looking for an out?
I think that if there is a substantial suspension here, that there is a potential that the Yankees may be able to either get all the way out of this contract or certainly get some kind of a rebate on the contract based on his inability to perform over a significant period of the contract.
I read a piece last week that basically suggested the only way to really clean up the game would be to punish teams. The way that in college sports teams are punished when players screw up, and championships are stripped of collegiate teams. You know, if the Yankees faced having some of their championship banners taken down as a result of harboring players like A-Rod, do you think the sport would be cleaned up a little faster?
Well, I think you're right that, you know, you have to go after the teams. I mean, in a certain respect, these players benefited the teams. The teams got the benefit of that from the players, but they're not being punished. Only the players are being punished. The problem is proving that the teams knew or had any legal, you know, liability for what these players were doing, and that seems to be a very hard thing to prove.
Well, we'll see what happens with all of this. David Stone is a former general counsel at Yankees Nets. Good to meet you. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.